Hello, my name's Tom Pow and I'm delighted to be reading you two poems today. My mother loved the Bronte sisters, Charlotte and Emily, who lived short, tragic lives on the West Yorkshire moors. Once, our mother took us to Polwart and to see where they were raised in the parsonage. This is a haunting, untitled poem by Emily Bronte, which suits this November weather. The night is darkening round me, the wild winds coldly blow, but a tyrant's spell has bound me, and I cannot go. The giant trees are bending, their bare boughs weighed with snow, and the storm is fast descending, and yet I cannot go. Clouds beyond clouds above me, wastes beyond wastes below, but nothing drear can move me. I will not, cannot go. Something maybe a bit more cheerful. After that, my mother also loved the collection of Mother Goose nursery rhymes, and this is her book. I'm going to read Who Killed Cock Robin from it. Who killed Cock Robin? I, said the sparrow, with my bow and arrow. I killed Cock Robin. Who saw him die? I, said the magpie, with my little eye. I saw him die. Who caught his blood? I, said the fish, with my little dish. I caught his blood. Who made his shroud? I, said the eagle, with my thread and needle. I made his shroud. Who'll dig his grave? The owl with aid, with matematic and spade, will dig Robin's grave. Who'll be the parson? I, said the rook, with my little book. I'll be the parson. Who'll be the clerk? I, said the lark. If not in the dark, I'll be the clerk. Who'll carry him to the grave? I, said the kite. If not in the night, I'll carry him to the grave. Who'll be chief mourner? I, said the swan. I'm sorry he's gone. I'll be chief mourner. Who'll bear his pall? We, said the wren, both the cock and the hen. We'll bear the pall. Who'll toll the bell? I, said the bull, because I can pull, and I'll pull the bell. Who'll lead the way? I, said the martin, when ready for starting, and I'll lead the way. All the birds in the air began sighing and sobbing when they heard the bell toll for poor Cock Robin. To all it concerns, this notice apprizes the sparrows for trial at the next bird assizes. Thank you for listening.
He bangs and raves, oh bonny doon, how can ye be sae fresh and sae fair? How can ye chant, ye little birds, and I say weary few o' care? You'll break my heart, thou warbling bird, that wanteth through flowering thorn. Reminds me of the parted joys, parted never to return. At Hay I rode by bonny Doon to see the rose and woodbine twine, and Elka bird sang of its love, and fondly say did I own mine. With fulsome heart I put the rose full sweet upon that flowering tree. But my false love, she stole my rose, but
I won't arise and go now, and go to Innisfree. I'll sanitize the doorknob and make a cup of tea. I won't go down to the sea again. I won't go out at all. I'll wander, lonely as a cloud, from the kitchen to the hall. There's a green-eyed yellow monster to the north of Kathmandu, but I shan't be seeing him just yet, and nor I think will you. While the dawn comes up like thunder on the road to Mandalay, I'll make my bit of supper and eat it off a tray. I shall not speed my bonny boat across the sea to Skye, or take the rolling English road from Birmingham to Rye. And no, I won't be travelling much within the realms of gold, or get me to Milford Haven. All that's been put on hold. Give me your hands, I shan't request, albeit we are friends, nor come within a mile of you until this lockdown ends. How do I love thee? Let me count the ways. I love thee to the depth and breadth and height my soul can reach when feeling out of sight for the ends of being and ideal grace. I love thee to the level of every day's most quiet need by sun and candlelight. I love thee freely as men strive for right. I love thee purely as they turn from praise. I love thee with the passion put to use in my old griefs and with my childhood's faith. I love thee with the love I seem to lose with my lost sense. I love thee with the breath, smiles, tears of all my life. And if God choose, I shall but love thee better after death. Hello. This jumper makes me happy. I wore it at TVAM back in the 1980s. This poem makes me happy too. It's by the great Spike Milligan. Smiling is infectious. You catch it like the flu. When someone smiled at me today, I started smiling too. I passed around the corner and someone saw my grin. When he smiled, I realized I'd passed it on to him. I thought about that smile. Then I realized its worth. A single smile just like mine could travel round the earth. So, if you feel a smile begin, don't leave it undetected. Let's start an epidemic quick and get the world infected.
In 1715, during the first Jacobite rebellion, a tune was created, a fiddle tune called Aiken Drum. The name means an oaken hill, a hill covered in oaks. And it was picked up by a man called William Nicholson, who lives in Borg, which is quite near Great House of Fleet, where we are at the moment. And he created a poem called The Bruni of Blednoch, which is about a little house elf. And the Bruni is, it's called Aiken Drum, and I'll do a wee bit of the poem, the first two verses, to lead you into it. And then I'm going to do the song. And it's there cam a strange wicht to oor Tunen, and the fiend nobody did him ken. He told the languid he glided ben wi a dreary, dreary hum. His face did glare like the glow of the west when the drumly cloud is at half o'ercast, or the struggling moon when she's sair distressed. O sirs, 'twas Aiken Drum. This is the song that came from that. There was a man come tail tune, come tail tune, come tail tune. Was a man come tail tune, and his name was Aiken Drum, and he played upon a ladle, a ladle, a ladle. Played upon a ladle, and his name was Aiken Drum, and his hat was made of geat, cream cheese of geat, cream cheese of geat, cream cheese. His hat was made of geat, cream cheese, and his name was Aiken Drum, and he played upon a ladle, a ladle, a ladle. Played upon a ladle, and his name was Aiken Drum. And his coat was made of geat, roast beef, for geat, roast beef, for geat, roast beef. His coat was made of geat, roast beef, and his name was Aiken Drum. And he played upon a ladle, a ladle, a ladle. Played upon a ladle, and his name was Aiken Drum. And his buttons were made of bobby baps, so bobby baps, bobby bap. His buttons were made of bobby baps, and his name was Aiken Drum. And he played upon a ladle, a ladle, a ladle. Played upon a ladle, and his name was Aiken Drum. And his breeks were made of haggis bags, so haggis bags, so haggis bags. His breeks were made of haggis bags, and his name was Aiken Drum. And he played upon a ladle, a ladle, a ladle. Played upon a ladle, and his name was Aiken Drum. Sing! Played upon a ladle, a ladle, a ladle. Played upon a ladle, and his name was Aiken Drum.
Today I saw a little worm wriggling on his belly. Perhaps he'd like to come inside and see what's on the telly. Hello, I'm Annette, and I'm standing in front of this poster because I was in the film. That's why it became Mum's favourite poem, and I'm going to share it with you. But I thought I should explain why I'm standing in front of this piece of artwork. 'Twas brillig, and the slithy toves did gyre and gimble in the wabe. All mimsy were the borogroves, and the mome-raths outgrabe. Beware the jabberwock, my son, the jaws that bite, the claws that catch. Beware the jubjub bird, and shun the frumious bandersnatch. He took his vorpal sword in hand. Long time the manxome foe he sought. So rested he by the tum-tum tree, and stood a while in thought. And as in uffish thought he stood, the jabberwock, with eyes of flame, came whiffling through the tulgey wood, and burbled as it came. 1, 2, 1, 2, and through the vorpal blade went snicker-snack. He left it dead, and with its head he went galumphing back. And hast thou slain the jabberwock? Come to my arms, my beamish boy. Oh, frabtious day, callooh, callay, he chortled in his joy. 'Twas brillig, and the slithy toves did gyre and gimble in the wabe. All mimsy were the borogroves, and the mome-raths outgrabe. Well, here we are in the forest, and I'm going to do a Thomas Hood poem, but I'm not going to tell you the title because it becomes apparent what it is at the end of the poem. No sun, no moon, no morn, no noon, no dawn, no dusk, no proper time of day. Ooh, no warmth, no cheerfulness, no healthful ease. Ooh, no comfortable feel in any member. Oh, no shade, no shine, no butterflies, no bees, no fruits, no flowers, no leaves, no birds, no Vember. We're now in my hall, and that's because a little while ago this came through the letterbox. It's from my friend Maria, who lives down the road. Maria is in her late 70s or early 80s, and her husband Peter has Alzheimer's. So I see her often going shopping for them, and we have a chat and we have a laugh. And she's sent me this, and I wanted to share it with you. It's called Desiderata, and it's Things That Are Desired. It was written in 1927 by Max Ehrmann. And I think it's something we all need to remember. I remember it from my friend's mother's toilet in the 70s. She had a copy of it up on the wall that we could all read and ponder. So I'll share it with you now. Go placidly amid the noise and haste, and remember what peace there may be in silence. As far as possible, without surrender, be on good terms with all persons. Speak your truth quietly and clearly, and listen to others, even the dull and the ignorant. They too have their story. Avoid loud and aggressive persons. They are vexatious to the spirit. If you compare yourself with others, you may become vain and bitter, for always there will be greater and lesser persons than yourself. Enjoy your achievements as well as your plans. Take kindly the counsel of the years. gracefully surrendering the things of youth. You are a child of the universe, no less than the trees and the stars. You have a right to be here, and whether or not it is clear to you, no doubt the universe is unfolding as it should. Therefore, be at peace with God, whatever you conceive him to be, and whatever your labours and aspirations in the noisy confusion of life, keep peace with your soul. With all its sham, drudgery, and broken dreams, it is still a beautiful world. Be cheerful. Strive to be happy. What are heavy? Sea sand and sorrow. What are brief? Today and tomorrow. What are frail? Spring blossom and youth. What are deep? The ocean and truth. When I am sad and weary, when I think all hope is gone, when I walk along High Holborn, I think of you with nothing on.
I'd like to share with you a beautiful poem by Robert Frost, the great American poet. It's set in the woods in the snow, so perhaps that's a clue. Perhaps you know it. It's called Stopping by Woods on a Snowy Evening. Whose woods these are, I think I know. His house is in the village, though. He will not see me stopping here to watch his woods fill up with snow. My little horse must think it queer to stop without a farmhouse near, between the woods and frozen lake, the darkest evening of the year. He gives his harness bells a shake to ask if there is some mistake. The only other sounds the sweep of easy wind and downy flake. The woods are lovely, dark and deep, but I have promises to keep and miles to go before I sleep, and miles to go before I sleep. I'm going to sing for you one of my favourite songs. It's actually a tongue twister and just a bit of fun. It's called Mary Mac. Some of you may know it. I'll go through the words of the chorus first. Mary Mac, Smithers Mackin, Mary Mac, Mary me. Ma Mithers Mackin me, Mary, Mary Mac. And I'm going to marry Mary to get Mary to take care of me. Well, I'll be macking Mary when I marry Mary Mac. So this is the tune that goes with those words, the chorus. Mary Mac, Smithers Mackin, Mary Mac, marry me. Ma Mithers Mackin me, Mary, Mary Mac. And I'm going to marry Mary to get Mary to take care of me. Well, I'll be macking Mary when I marry Mary Mac. Do you think you've got that? So join in when the chorus comes. We'll start with the chorus. Here we go, Mary Mac. Mary Mac, Smithers Mackin, Mary Mac, marry me. Ma Mithers Mackin me, Mary, Mary Mac. And I'm going to marry Mary to get Mary to take care of me. Well, I'll be macking Mary when I marry Mary Mac. There's this wee lass, her name's Mary Mac. Mac, no mistake, she's the lass I'm going to tack. There's lots of other fellas try to get up on her track, but I'm thinking that they'd have to get up early. Mary Mac, Smithers Mac and Mary Mac, marry me, ma, Mithers Mac and me, Mary, Mary Mac. And I'm going to marry Mary to get Mary to take care of me. Well, I'll be Mac and Mary when I marry Mary Mac. This wee lass, she has a lot of brass, she has a lot of gas, and her mother thinks I'm class. I'd be a silly ass to let the mater pass, for her father thinks she suits me very fairly. Mary Mac, Smithers Mac and Mary Mac, marry me, ma, Mithers Mac and me, Mary, Mary Mac. And I'm going to marry Mary to get Mary to take care of me. Well, I'll be Mac and Mary when I marry Mary Mac. Now Mary and her mother gang an awful lot together. In fact, you hardly ever see the one without the other. And folk they often wonder if it's Mary or her mother, or the pair of them together that I'm courting. Mary Mac, Smithers Mac and Mary Mac, marry me, ma, Mithers Mac and me, Mary, Mary Mac. And I'm going to marry Mary to get Mary to take care of me. Well, I'll be Mac and Mary when I marry Mary Mac. Now the wedding day's on Wednesday, everything's arranged. Her name'll soon be changed to mine, unless her mind be changed. And we're making the arrangements. Jings, I'm just a bit deranged, for marriage is an awful undertaking. Mary Mac, Smithers Mac and Mary Mac, marry me, ma, Mithers Mac and me, Mary, Mary Mac. And I'm going to marry Mary to get Mary to take care of me. Well, I'll be Mac and Mary when I marry Mary Mac. Mary Mac, Smithers Mac and Mary Mac, marry me, ma, Mithers Mac and me, Mary, Mary Mac. And I'm going to marry Mary to get Mary to take care of me. Well, I'll be Mac and Mary when I marry Mary Mac. I'm going to sing you a song which was originally a poem written by Helen B. Cruikshank. And my father, Ronald Stevenson, set it to music. It's a lovely wee song, and it's called Up the Norren Water. Up the Norren Water, in by Engles muddy, Annie's got a bairnie that hasna got a daddy. Some say it's Thomas's, and some say it's Cheese, and nobody expected wi' Annie's quiet ways. Up the Norren Water, the bonny little Mannie is dandled and cuddled close by Engles Muddy's Annie. Wha the bairnie's daddy is, the lassie never says, but some think it's Thomas's, and some think it's Cheese. Up the Norren Water, the country folk are kind, and wha the bairnie's daddy is, they dinna muckle mind. But oh, the bairn at Annie's breast, the love in Annie's e'e, they mak me wish wi' all my micht the lucky lad was me.
When This is Robert Burns' last work. It's both a poem and a song. O wert thou in the cold blast on yonder lea, my plaidy to the angry airt, I'd shelter thee, I'd shelter thee. Or did misfortune's bitter storms around thee blaw, thy bield should be my bosom, to share it all, to share it all. O wert I in the darkest place, say black and bare, say black and bare, the desert were a paradise, if thou wert there, if thou wert there. O wert I monarch o'er the world, with thee to reign, with thee to reign, the brightest jewel in my crown would be my queen, would be my queen.
Our revels now are ended. These our actors, as I foretold you, are all spirits, and are melted into air, into thin air. And, like the baseless fabric of this vision, the cloud-capped towers, the gorgeous palaces, the solemn temples, the great globe itself, yea, all which it inherit, shall dissolve, and like this insubstantial pageant faded, leave not a rack behind. We are such stuff as dreams are made on, and our little life is rounded with a sleep.
Way up in the Highlands there stands a wee house, and it stands on the breast of the brae, where we played as laddies there long, long ago, and it seems it was just yesterday. I remember old Granny, a smile on her face, as pure as the heather dew, and she'd whisper goodbye with a tear in her eye, saying, laddie, God bless you. When the heather bells are blooming outside Granny's door, where as laddies there we played in days of long ago, by the shadow of Benraggy and Goldspace in this stream. How I wished that I could see my granny's heel and hay. You
Garden Gyles, Taven Gyles, the heather grows, the burning road, my
Hello there, my name's Annie Grace, and I'm going to read Tea Moose on Turning Up Her Nest with the Plough, November 1785. Wee sleek coorin' timorous beastie, oh, what a panic's in thy breastie. Thou needna start awa sae hasty wi' bicker and brattle. I would be laith to run and chase thee wi' murder and pattle. I'm truly sorry man's dominion has broken nature's social union and justifies that ill opinion which makes thee startle at me, thy poor earth-born companion and fellow mortal. I doubtna whiles but thou may thieve. What then? Poor beastie, thou maun live. A dame and Corinna thraves a small request. I'll get a blessing with a leave and never missed. Thy wee bit hussy too, in ruins. It's silly was, the winds are strewing, and nothing now to big and new in a foggage green, and bleak December winds ensuing, baith snell and keen. Thou saw the fields laid bare and waste, and weary winter coming fast, and cosy here beneath the blast thou thought to dwell, till crash, the cruel cooter passed out through thy cell. That wee bit heap o' leaves and stibble has cost thee mony a weary nibble. Now thou's turned out for all thy trouble, but house or hold, to thole the winter's sleety dribble and Brandreth cold. But, Moosie, thou art no thy lane, in proving foresight may be vain. The best laid schemes o' mice and men gang aft agley, and lea us naught but grief and pain for promised joy. Still, thou art blessed compared with me. The present only toucheth thee. But ach, I backward cast my eon prospects drear, and forward, though I canna see, I guess and fear.
Hello, my name is Olga Wojtas. I was born and brought up in Edinburgh, where I went to James Gillespie's High School. And that was the school which inspired my fellow former pupil, Dame Muriel Spark, to write her great novel, The Prime of Miss Jean Brodie. She renamed the school the Marcia Blaine School for Girls, and that in turn inspired my first novel, Miss Blaine's Prefect and the Golden Samovar. My heroine is in her 50s. She's a proud former pupil of the Marcia Blaine School for Girls, and she is now a librarian in Morningside Library. Most of the action in the book takes place in Imperial Russia, but that's another story. But today I would like to read for you a section that takes place in the present day Morningside Library. I thought back to the pouring wet Edinburgh day that had changed my life. The library was full of people who had come in to take shelter. I became aware of a woman, not one of the regulars, standing dripping in front of my desk, not bothering to take down the hood of her raincoat. "Good morning," she said, before I had time to ask how I could help her. Her accent was local, her tone authoritative. "Do you have a copy of The Prime of Miss Jean Brodie? I can't find it on the shelves." There was a time when I wasn't sure what hackles were, but the mere mention of that book makes mine rise like cholesterol levels after you've been eating saturated fat. If it's not on the shelves, then it will be out on loan. Yes, I imagine it's very popular. My fingers tightened round the edge of the desk. For those who like that sort of thing, that is the sort of thing they like. Could you order it from another branch? I could, but I wouldn't. I would play no part in disseminating that book. Oh, I'm afraid I can't. My computer's playing up. Have you tried switching it off and switching it on again? No, I mean the system's down. It won't get fixed for ages. Council cuts. Tell me, there was a new edge to her voice, is there some problem with this book? Where to begin? Just up the road is the Marcia Blaine School for Girls, which I attended. That book purports to be about my school, but never has a school been so traduced under the veil of fiction. It is nothing but a distortion, a travesty, a betrayal. That book mocks the school's dedication to academic and sporting excellence and exposes us to public ridicule. That was what I wanted to say, but didn't. Libraries have changed over the years, but shouting at borrowers is still discouraged. I also didn't say, whenever people find out what school I went to, they snigger and say, "See, you're a Brodie girl, the creme de la creme." I am not a Brodie girl, but every single Blainer is the creme de la creme by virtue of having had the finest education in the world. Perhaps, she said, someone else can help me. Well, I couldn't have that. One of my officious colleagues discovering that that book was missing and reordering it yet again. I would log this wretched woman's details and rely on the council cuts to lose them almost immediately. May I have your library card? I don't have one. Let me sort that out for you. I was reaching for the mouse when I remembered I'd told her the system was down and reached for a notepad. May I take your email address? I don't have one. Your postal address? My address is fluid. Do you have a name? I asked in my most cheerful in the face of adversity voice. The prospective borrower pulled down her hood. She had never been in the library before, but she was as familiar to me as my own family. That aquiline nose, that resolute jaw, that interrogatory stare. I recognised her from the portrait I had seen every day in the school assembly hall. Miss Blaine, I stammered. I thought you were dead. Obviously not. I am neither ghost nor mirage. There was only one thing I could say. May I offer you a cup of tea? The small upstairs meeting room was free, so I installed her there and went off to brew my homemade blend of Darjeeling and Earl Grey. The founder, here in Morningside Library. Neither ghost nor mirage, but what was she? By my calculations, she would be over 200 years old. But this was a woman in her prime. A woman whom I had almost harangued with views on that book, which she clearly didn't share. I returned to her with the tea and a plate of Bourbon biscuits. Now, she said, I should like you to explain yourself. Your computer was working perfectly well when I approached you. Are you always that unhelpful? I am the creme de la creme, I protested. I pride myself on my professionalism, which includes being as helpful as possible. And yet, you were being positively obstructive. I couldn't lie to the founder. It was the particular volume you wanted. I'm sorry. I can't share your enthusiasm for it. My enthusiasm? What makes you think I'm enthusiastic about it? You wanted to borrow it. I assumed. Her voice cut across me. Never assume. When you assume, you make an ass of you and me. I stored away the epigram for future use. What view do you think I would have of a book which describes me, as the widow of a bookbinder? She grabbed a bourbon and snapped it in two. Blainers do not depend on a man for their identity, I agreed. The school has always been a bastion of feminism. It is a deplorable, pernicious fabrication. I cannot imagine how it got published, she said. I wish to check your loyalty to the school, and I have been reassured. Well done. Praise from the founder. I blushed in gratitude. There's something you should see, I said, taking the key out of my jacket pocket and unlocking the cupboard. She raised an eyebrow at the copies of The Prime of Miss Jean Brodie in all its various editions, which filled every shelf. I can't let that book fall into the hands of readers, I said. Whenever one comes in, I hide it in here. People keep reordering it. I have to be constantly vigilant. Her nod of approval was all the thanks I needed. Tell me, she said, dunking half a bourbon in her tea. What do you know about time travel? So, Marcia Blaine was a time traveller. At least, I assumed she was. It would take some practice to start never assuming.
This is Song Composed in August, also known as Westling Winds by Robert Burns. Now westland winds and slaughtering guns bring autumn's pleasant weather. The moorcock springs on whirring wings among the blooming heather. Now waving grain wide o'er the plain delights the weary farmer, and the moon shines bright when I rove at night to muse upon my charmer. The partridge loves the fruitful fells, the plover loves the mountains, the woodcock haunts the lonely dells, the soaring hern the fountains. Through lofty groves the cushat roves, the path o' man to shun it. The hazel bush o'erhangs the thrush, the spreading thorn the linnet. Thus every kind their pleasure find, the savage and the tender. Some social join, the leagues combine, some solitary wander. Avaunt away the cruel sway, tyrannic man's dominion, the sportsman's joy, the murdering cry, the fluttering gory pinion. But Peggy, dear, the evening's clear, thick flies the skimming swallow, the sky is blue, the fields in view all fading green and yellow. Come, let us stray our gladsome way and view the charms of nature, the rustling corn, the fruited thorn, and every happy creature. We'll gently walk and sweetly talk till the silent moon shine clearly. I'll grasp thy waist and fondly pressed swear how I love thee dearly. Not vernal showers to budding flowers, not autumn to the farmer, so dear can be as thou to me my fair, my lovely charmer.
I'm Chrys, and this is Moira Leavin. Hello. Who's my wife. And I'm going to tell you about a journey we took, or I took last year, and I wrote a book about. Everything passes, everything remains. And it was two old friends of ours, Eddie and Liam, in fact, Moira's friends first. And we'd been cycling a lot through Scotland and Spain for years. And we decided to cycle across Spain from the northwest in Vigo to the north, to the southeast in Valencia. We played instruments along the way. We busked, so we cycled and stopped and busked in towns and villages along the way. So I'm going to play you some of the songs that we played along the way, and some of the memories that we had from that journey. Okay. So I thought, just to give you a slight flavour of what it was, I'm going to read the very first, very short paragraph of this book, which kind of sets the scene. It started out as a bike ride. 3 old friends, in every sense, cycling across Spain, a country that has obsessed and united us all our lives. It became a coast-to-coast tour of a decidedly iffy busking band, and they were iffy. For 2 of the cyclists, it was a celebration of retirement, moving on to the next stage of life. For one in particular, a voyage of remembrance and loss. We hadn't expected we'd be pedalling through the past as much as the present. So this is a few things we did along the way. One of the first songs we had for this little trip was one I wrote. I wrote it with a guy called Robert Burns.
I've heard of him.
You heard of Robert Burns? Yeah, Rabbie Burns. Yeah.
He's quite well known.
But better known than me, do you think?
I think maybe.
So I took her over. Yeah, I ripped off Robert Burns. I took an old Robert Burns song. You'll know it. It's the older, prettier version of a song that's sung all the time. But we both like this tune better. And I translated some of Burns' original words into Spanish, and I made up some words of my own, which is probably a terrible thing to do to your national poet. But there we go. So this is a wee song. Los viejos tiempos, we call it. Remember me, I wandered here, your fields and streets and rocks, seeking, hoping, long before the ticking of any clock.
Recuérdame, I feasted here in and at these bars, dancing round and falling down beneath the golden stars.
Por los viejos tiempos, la belleza de ayer, brindamos por la simpatía, los días de ayer.
And here once more I return to you, a land I've long held dear. There's another pilgrim on the way, no one minds me here.
Dame la mano, compañero, here's the hand of mine. Together we'll sing the good old songs of tears and dreams and wine. Por los viejos tiempos, la belleza de ayer, brindamos por la simpatía, los días de ayer. For old lang syne, my Joe, for old lang syne, we'll take a cup of kindness yet, for old lang syne. There we go. So that's a song that I wrote with Robert Burns.
Yeah.
So one of the reasons we did this journey was I had originally done or tried to do the same kind of thing 45 years ago when I was 16, and we tried to do it again when I was 61. I tried to go across Spain and busking, following in the footsteps of a guy called Lottie Lee, who'd written a very famous book about it in the 1930s. I didn't get very far. The book tells you why I didn't finally manage to finish that journey. But being a teenager, you do lots of daft things. And at one point I was still busking, and I was still in the province of Galicia in a town called Pontevedra, when I went to this bar. And here's a little tiny bit from the book that gives you one of the daft things I did. In this bar, in a barrio of Pontevedra, I was asked if I knew any Scots Gaelic songs. I didn't. The bar had a guitar, and I'd been alternating between singing and playing some fiddle tunes. I knew roughly how to make the sounds of Firavata, a beautiful Gaelic song, The Boatman. So I did that in the bar, and I went down, well, people liked it, and thought I could sing Gaelic. So I grew in confidence, and they asked for more. So I just made noises. That people who had never heard Gaelic, back then in those days in Spain, nobody had heard Gaelic, so they accepted this quite happily. It's very bad, isn't it? It's very bad. I must have looked the part, the true lumpy son of Scots farmers. I used Scottish surnames as well as what I thought might sound like mouth music in my Gaelic songs. So I sang things like, "O Murdo Macroch, no, Seamus wee leech." I got invited back. They liked it. They believed it.
I'm amazed.
I maybe slightly better at it back then. I think I made it to the third night. Free wine, food, enough takings in the hat for a decent bed. My first, possibly my last, truly spellbound audience. Until the only other Scot in the entire province of Galicia walked in. This was not a possibility I'd considered. I remember the guffaw. I remember the sound of my heart plummeting. I stopped mid-beautiful ballad. O Katrina Huru Magnis O Sorley Loch Dun. I don't remember the man's exact words, but they weren't exactly complimentary. A mix of surprise, a degree of, I like to think, respect for the sheer brass neck, but more explicitly an accusation of fraudulence. We spoke afterwards, and my compatriot told me to carry on, he wouldn't tell a soul. But the game was up. So that was me doing stupid things as a teenager, pretending I could sing Gaelic. So the thing we did when we were in the 60s was we pretended we could play our instruments. As you're about to find out, we were a iffy busking band. So I thought I'd play a couple of tunes that we played along the road. People in Spain didn't know them as well as you might, so they won't notice it. They didn't notice the mistakes as much. But anyway, here's a couple of tunes, and I think you might recognise some of them. mistakes. It was quite fun doing those in Spain, and just in little villages and things, and usually with all our cycling gear on, and we kept our helmets on. And in one town, they came up with a name for our band, and they called us the Sexagenarians. so that name stuck, and we used that for the rest of the
I
tour.
wonder why you like that so much as a name.
I don't know, there's a bit too much age in it, but there we go. Here's a final, again, very short reading from the book. We passed some beautiful places when we were cycling, really gorgeous places. And I kind of write in the book about the various places that we were in. And this is in La Mancha, where Don Quixote, of course, comes from, although he didn't exist. And yeah, it's just one of the roads we cycled on, and will always remain with me as one of the most beautiful roads we cycled along. We had seen what looked like a great road from the hilltop, and hoped that it was the one we were about to cycle. The only worry being that it looked from up there like a dirt track. But it turned out to be compacted, hard-baked earth, bleached by the sun, reflecting the young wheat, the soft grasses and fallow fields, fine for the bikes. The poppies had taken the day off, not caring to disrupt the hushed watercolours, their red, too vibrant for a quiet, sincere path like this. Lone, creamy clouds tiptoed across the vast sky, dropping cool raindrops occasionally. From this low position, we could see even further than from atop the hill. The early evening meadows lay like satin bedsheets, still rumpled and humid as if from an afternoon of lovemaking. The hills in the distance faded into the sky. All we could hear was the breeze, the odd raindrop dripping, whispers on the warm road. We had to walk a little away from each other. If you can't shed a tear in the face of such beauty, well, it's a crying shame. So that's the kind of place. There's also some funny stuff in it as well, but that's one of the beautiful roads that we cycled. Moira and I are Hispanophiles. We've always been interested in Spain and Spanish. Moira's Spanish is wonderful. And Liam and Eddie and I, a lot of our friends speak Spanish. And we're very interested in Spanish poetry and song and books. And this is a poem that Moira's going to read for us, which is written by Rosalía de Castro, who's from the northwest Celtic part of Spain, in Galicia. And she's kind of the nearest thing I would say Spain has to Robert Burns. She's a 19th century poet, and she writes beautifully about her beloved Galicia in the northwest. So this is a little poem of hers I liked, and I've just translated myself, and Moira's going to read for us.
Plants do not speak, nor streams, nor birds. Waves don't gossip, or the stars wink. Don't be so sure. Whenever I pass, I hear them whisper, "There goes the mad old woman, daydreaming of spring, of life, of farmlands. Soon her hair will be grey, white as frost on grass." Oh yes, my hair's turning grey, and frost is in the fields. And I'll go on wandering, there's no cure for dreamers. Life leaves, but spring rebirths in every field and every fresh soul, despite the wilting and the ploughing. Stars, streams, blossoms, don't betray my dreaming, for without you, how can I love or live?
Lovely.
It's nice, isn't it?
It's a gorgeous poem, isn't it? It's really nice. It's even nicer in the original Spanish, but it's the best I could do. Lovely, well read, thank you. Okay, well, we're going to finish off with a song that I hope if you're in the mood, you'll join in with. Because a lot of stuff that we did in Spain, and actually we do here a lot more, don't we? Have lots of parties and lots of sing-songs, and friends come round with instruments and people sing. And this is one that everybody always seems to want to sing. And even again in Spain, when we sang this in village squares, people knew the tune if they didn't know the words. So we're going to finish off with this wee song. And please do join along if you fancy it, okay? I think we remember the words, but just in case, it's always best to have them. Okay.
Yep.
Oh, the summertime is come, and the trees are sweetly blooming, and the wild mountain thyme goes around the blooming heather. Will you go, lassie, go? And we'll all go together to pluck wild mountain thyme all around the blooming heather. Will you go, lassie, go? And we'll all go together to pluck wild mountain thyme all around the blooming heather. Will you go, lassie, go? I will build my love a tower near yon bright crystal fountain, and round it I will pile all the flowers of the mountain. Will you go, lassie, go? And we'll all go together to pluck wild mountain thyme all around the blooming heather. Will you go, lassie, go? And we'll all go together to pluck wild mountain thyme all around the blooming heather. Will you go, lassie, go? There we go. Hope you enjoyed that wee sing song. Hope you sang along. So that's what we did along the road to Spain, and I wrote about in the book. And that's us.
That's it.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
thank you very much for
listening.
for listening and for having us in with you. That's great. And I really do honestly believe that everything passes, but everything does remain.
For all lang syne, my Joe, for all lang syne, we'll take a couple kindness yet. For all lang syne, for all lang syne, my Joe, for all lang syne, we'll take a couple kindness yet. For all